This is Jonathan Aguilar here for Pro Boxing Fans, joined by Gareth A Davies in his very nice garden. Very nice day,
God,
it looks
it's
like.
garden, but it's spring and it's bloody freezing, so we're on a time limit here. I'm just escaping things being sorted out in my house before I head to Cardiff for bare knuckle 40, bare knuckle boxing 40.
Mhm.
Um, Liam Reese and Martin Raffle fighting for the BKB super welterweight title. It's banging down there, by the way. You know how they love a fight in Wales. It's absolutely banging. So I'm about to head down there shortly, and everything's getting ready in my house at the moment. So thought I'd step outside, sit in the garden. But it's just warm enough, just warm enough. Even though it says 13 degrees, it feels like about 6.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, it looks all right. Maybe it's
There's a
Thursday.
cold, there's a cold wind blowing at the moment.
Well, on Sunday, you'll be there as well for the Whittaker Cameron fight.
Yep.
Finally, they've sorted out the rounds, 10
Have
rounds.
they?
Yeah, don't know if you knew that or not.
I've read they have. It's a 10-round fight.
That's what they said. How did
But
they
I
get
think
to that?
Warren Lee Eaton and Liam Cameron saying this as well now then.
Leeson tweeted that this morning.
Oh, okay. Because I saw interviews with him earlier where he was going, there's three options. There's a 12 round, a 10 round, money, or we sue them. You know? Um, I mean, what a fiasco, really. What a fiasco.
Hmm.
Over a couple of rounds,
What uh, what do you think's
Is
gonna
my
happen?
internet signal right out here? Or,
Yeah,
'cause I'm
it's just you're back. It's just holding up. What do you think's gonna happen on Sunday?
I think Ben Whitaker's been very quiet, and I think he's going to come in very determined. He hasn't talked the talk, but I think he'll walk the walk, and I think he'll be brilliant on Saturday night. I think Sunday night. I think Liam Cameron will be as well and bring everything, and I think it's going to be a really, really good fight because Ben Whitaker knows what to expect this time, and he knows he cannot slip up if he is the prospect and star that everyone's made him out to be, and that we believe him to be. I think he will. I think he'll win on points over 10 rounds. Um, and I think it is to his advantage that it's 10 rounds. And I think he'll look really good in doing so. I think he'll step in on the shots, pirouette, dance the ballet, and but hopefully not get too cheeky during the dance, but really focus on his skills. And the fact that Andy Lee is in his corner, Jonathan, I think is maybe a big factor in that.
Hmm. Uh, on the undercard, Fraser Clarke returns. I guess he's a guy in need of a win this time round.
He's a guy in need of us optically seeing a guy who is fully recovered, strong, believing in himself, and who's capable of getting Ebenezer Tete, out of there, like Dillian White and Daniel Dubois did, so he doesn't have to do any overtime. He did a very powerful interview the other day. I mentioned it on another interview with Ruth Roper on The Ring. Did you see it? The
Mhm.
last, I mean, it's a long interview, 70 odd minutes, and I didn't watch the whole thing. But I did go to the end where in the last 10 minutes he spoke very powerfully about the darkness that he'd embraced after his face was disfigured in that second fight with Fabio Wardley and what went through his mind. And it was fascinatingly lucid. And it was very moving, very powerful, I thought. And he said he plumbed the depth of despair and he didn't believe in this mental health shit, but he said he really felt it. And were it not for all the support, people like us as well as the public and other boxers and people in the industry, he said he wouldn't have felt as much love which he felt, and he was really appreciative of it, as he was when he drew with Fabio Wardley and talked about. I don't know if you saw that, where he talked about um, coming into the bar at the Intercontinental Hotel at the O2 Arena, and saying the love that he felt from people for the effort he put in that first fight against Fabio. And I said to him that night, I was there, I said, this is what people will always remember you. They'll remember these fights. Doesn't matter if you ever win a world title, they'll remember that first fight with Fabio. At the moment, to finish on the round, people remember the second fight and how it ended almost catastrophically for him in our eyes when we saw it unfolding. So he needs to right the wrong of that.
I actually remember you were actually the first reporter to speak to him the next day after
We
the war.
spoke to him at
Yeah.
the. We went over to him at the airport, and he was brilliant. He was with his partner, a beautiful woman he's with, and mother of his children, I believe. And I don't know that for a fact. I'm pretty sure she's the mother of his children. And he talks about how what a beautiful, loving family he's got, and he's brilliant. Fraser, he's a wonderful man to work with. I've worked with him, covered him. He's always got time for us, hasn't he? He's the consummate professional, and he has been for a long time. And it was nice to see him in the airport that day. He'd been wired up, ready to go home, not in pain. He was really struggling to speak a little bit, but he wanted to tell everyone he was okay. And I think I put a couple of tweets out, and they did hundreds of thousands of views because people were genuinely concerned. They wanted to know. So you know, I hope he has a great fight on Saturday night. I hope they both come out unscathed, but I hope he goes well.
Mm.
Sunday night.
Obviously, yesterday we saw Chris Eubank Sr. sort of break his silence. He did an interview with Eamon from Seconds Out, and I think he spoke to IFL as well. And it was quite a powerful stuff from Senior. What did you make of what he was saying and calling his son a disgrace, etc.?
Well, I don't. I think he's entitled to his very strong views, and I was caught in the diaspora, as I've called it, of his soapbox on the way, from Wellington Arch for most of the mile. He spoke for a lot of the way, but obviously he was very close with Michael Watson all the way, and he was assisting and helping Michael Watson, and it's very important that he was there. Obviously, that fight they had is what happened, what caused the causation of the miracle that Michael Watson is, but obviously a reminder of the inherent dangers of the sport. And that's what Chris was doing yesterday, was saying, look, we've got Nick Blackwell here, who his son fought and hurt. Nick nearly died, was in a coma. Michael Watson's there, 34 years on. And it was an absolute pleasure, I've got to say, to be there and see Michael. He's a long-standing friend and associate, and Peter Hamlin as well, the consultant neurosurgeon I have a relationship with for 30 years with the Telegraph, because we've done a lot with the Brain and Spine Foundation over the years, and Michael. And obviously I did the marathon, I walked that marathon with him 22 years ago for 6.5 days. Ricky Gervais, Audley Harrison, Ashley Cole throwing £50 notes from his open-top car. Audley Harrison on the megaphone, Ricky Gervais turning up on the Friday or the Thursday and walking along along the embankment with us. He wasn't as famous then as he is now, but he was still famous. And he was great, and he'd been fighting Grant Bovey, who was, I think, is it Anthea Turner, or what was her name? I think Anthea Turner, a famous presenter's husband. He was into polo and horses, and him and Ricky Gervais. Do you remember when him and Ricky Gervais fought or not?
No, I don't.
It was a long time ago. I think it was for Comic Relief or something,
Right.
and they were trained by Frank Maloney and someone else. I can't remember. It might have been Denny Mancini or someone. But it was a thing, and Ricky was famous, but not. He was doing extras at that point. I think he was extras famous. Do you remember Extras?
Yep.
If you haven't seen Extras, go and watch Extras. It's brilliant.
Don't know, yeah.
And so we go back in the day, and obviously Michael turned up for that one on the last day, day 6.5, and day 7, and I want to say it was a pleasure to be there, write a piece about Michael, and drive the resonance for Peter Hamlin and iNeuro and the Brain and Spine Foundation, and research into mobile phones that will read our minds, basically what our brains are like, which is fantastic. They'll take the data off our mobile phones and see how active and fast or slow or slowing our brains are, to look at different issues with the spine and the brain. I think it's amazing. But as you say, the news line, apart from Michael being a medical miracle still, is Christopher Senior was strident. He was on his soapbox. He was emotional. He was powerful, talking. I mean, I got caught in the diaspora of his soapbox, as I've called it. and denigrated slightly by being a journalist not going against the fight. He doesn't want his son to fight, doesn't want him to cut weight. He's concerned about Conor Benn fighting his son, believes it's a mismatch in weights. I tried to say to him, we've had it before, and he said, but it doesn't make it right. And he says that the media should be going against the fight and getting it called off because there's rules about weight divisions for a reason, and they shouldn't be fighting each other. He's lost one son, Sebastian. His son catastrophically in some way changed the life of Nick Blackwell, who I absolutely adore, and is a greater human being now than he was when he was a fighter, probably. As Michael says, he's a greater human being. Something very special about Nick and Lisa and their crew, their children, and so on, that they bring up. And so he's affected by all those things. He knows what he went through in a bloodbath in 9 rounds against his fellow fighter Nigel Benn 35 years ago, and again 33 years ago, or 32 years ago. So I think he's very compassionate, and he doesn't want to see his son get hurt or Conor Benn get hurt. And he's on the margins of worrying about it, on that far margin over there. Whereas on the other side, I'm very excited about the fight, like many of us. It's going to be a massive week next week, Jonathan. And my understanding is they're earning 8 and 9 million each. So it's a huge event. It will cross over. Eubank Senior will be mentioned all week, for Who's Fooling Who and Judgment Day. People will look back in the annals of time and see the signing of it on ITV and the 17 million people that watched. And people will talk about the NEC, and people will talk about 42,000 at Old Trafford. And they are going to talk about it, and they're going to love it, and they're going to lap it up. Will the fight live up to all expectation? Who knows? We actually don't know. But the heavy money, I expect, will be on Eubank, because the sensible betting is on that bigger man who's fought at a higher level, who's more experienced. But there's something in it that says it's going to be fascinating. I hope for his sake and their sakes that no one comes out very damaged.
Mm. Just on what you were saying about journalists going against the fight, is it journalists' job to do that? Or, like what's your stance on what he was saying? I totally understand where he's coming from in terms of, like you said, like he's lost his one son. We see what's happened with Michael Watson, Nick Blackwell, but is it a journalist's job to go against a fight?
If you want to go against it, my late great mentor Colin Hart believes it shouldn't have happened, and I think I had a debate with him when he was alive. Obviously, only passed away a couple of weeks ago. He didn't want it to happen. He didn't think they were the right size for each other. We may see that on the night within a few rounds. We may not, but my feeling is we will. I think Eubank's too big for him. I do. Even though Ben will be a terror for 5 or 6 rounds, but I think Eubank will take over and win comfortably on points. And we'll go, oh, there we go. There's weight divisions for a reason. I don't want to see Eubank punish him really harshly. He hasn't in recent fights. He may stop Ben late in the fight, but I think he'll win on points, because I think Ben's got something about him, and I think that's maybe what Chris is concerned about a very grueling 12-round fight where Ben doesn't give up because he's got that DNA in him. I don't argue with people that don't want to see the fight, who believe it's a money grab, who believe it's just a prize fight based on the father's names, a family feud and a bloodline. But I'm going to be honest, I am looking forward to fight week, and I'm looking forward to the events, and I'm looking forward to being in the stadium with 60,000 people and watching Billum Smith against, I can't remember his name now, is it Glaston?
And Brandon Glanton.
Glanton, 4 and 5 in the WBC. I'm looking forward to Chev Clarke and Vidal Riley. I'm looking forward to Liam Smith against Aaron McKenna. Opportunity for McKenna to make a name for himself. I'm looking forward to Lyndon Arthur and Anthony Yard. I think it's a really good card. And if Ben pulls off the imaginable to some and fairly unthinkable to me, people are going to be. He's going to be a very, very popular man.
Mm.
Even though Chris Eubank Jr. has turned him into the heel a little bit in the build-up, with pushing the drugs cheat theme and the eggs and all of those things. So that I don't argue with anyone that doesn't believe it should happen. The point is, it has been sanctioned by the British Boxing Board of Control. Conor Benn has come up to has fought 2 fights at light middle. He didn't look incredibly powerful at light middle. I think Dobson was one of them, the last one out, and Dobson's a tough American Jamaican, tougher than people were giving him credit for. I think was it Peter Dobson? I think it was
Yeah.
Peter Dobson. He gave him a really decent fight. But Dobson's slightly underrated. So Ben's come up from welter to light middle. I hope Chris Eubank Jr. is not having a very difficult weight cut, because that may impact on him in the late rounds. But he's done it a lot of times before. We're talking about a 35-year-old coming up 36, or he's going to be 36 in his next year, and Conor Benn's 28, 29 this year. So, there's a lot to fight for, and Ben is a terror, throwing lots of punches, but he's not a pure knockout merchant. And people forget how hard Eubank is and how hard he hits.
Mm.
So there's so many. I mean, I've come away from filming with William Hill all day about this, and I'm really stoked for the contest. Yesterday, I felt a little bit admonished by the great Eubank, Christopher Eubank, who I respect greatly and have a decent dose of love for. I have tried to contact him today, and he hasn't got back yet. Because yesterday, my focus really was not so much on Chris as making sure I got my piece written on Watson for the Telegraph, because that is a bigger picture that needs support as well.
Yeah, and yeah, next week is
What's your feeling about it? There are people who are ambivalent about it, that they don't want to see it, but there are people that want to see it.
I do want to see it, and I think it is whatever you want to think. It is the biggest fight in this country.
Outside the heavyweights. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't get a lot of big fights like this. So
No, boxing doesn't. I
yeah,
can't remember. I've looked down the annals. I did a fight. I think it was 2001. Layla Ali and Jackie Frazier lied, the daughters of Ali and Frazier, and they called it Ali Frazier 4. Have I told you about that one before?
right.
Do you remember? Do you know about it? And then the women fought. They call it Ali Frazier 4. It was in a big circus tent in Syracuse, New York State. And the old men were there, and it was a great occasion. They had a real cat fight. It was brilliant. But I can't remember another occasion when a grudge fight so prevalent with between two fighters' sons was there, and because it's got all the ingredients. I remember even talking about this with Eubank a couple of years ago, well, more than, because it's 2.5 years we've waited, but I remember speaking to him about this. When was it? Maybe in 2020, and saying, "Do you think you two will ever meet? Could we get a Eubank Ben 3?" And he went, "Who knows? Maybe one day." Because Conor was a long way behind then, and it feels resonant, and I think it will be well attended, well watched, crossover into the mainstream, and I hope it delivers. But as I say, it's very hard to tell people who say they don't want it to happen that it's wrong. I mean, I hope it's not another Kell Brook, Gennady Golovkin, Amir Khan, Saul Canelo Alvarez. It could be on that level. It could be something like that, where we went afterwards, oh, Amir needs to do everything right for every second of every minute of every round, and Virgil Hunter was telling us, I don't want him taking this fight. And, Kell was competitive with Gennady for 3 rounds, and he ended up with a fractured orbital socket. I think he'd already lost. Had he already lost to Errol Spence at that point? Potentially, he had.
I think Golovkin was first.
Right, was it?
I
Okay.
believe so.
Yeah, but they ultimately were mismatches. This may end up being a mismatch, but I hope not.
Yeah.
And it may not. Jonathan, did you check?
Yeah, Golovkin was first, then
Yeah,
Spence.
Golovkin was first. Yeah, so it made him quite vulnerable around the eyes, and I thought it was first. And the thing is, you know, when you're 28 or 35, you don't give a damn about what you're going to be like when you're 55 or 60 because you got a massive payday, you got an opportunity to right wrongs in a family feud, you're honed in on this target, and you're earning. My understanding is they're earning 8 and 9 million for this. It's huge. Like you say, it's gonna be enormous next week, and it's gladiatorial combat. You know,
Looking forward to it. Just lastly, Gareth Boots Ennis. What did you think of him?
very, very fine performance. Signalled the beginning of his move to elite level, I think. I think he gets into the pound for pound list now. I'd love to see him against Virgil Ortiz and Terence Crawford. I'd love to see him against Conor Benn if Conor Benn beats Chris Eubank. Big. They're all big fights. But I thought he was spectacular. He was like the movement, the making Stanionis, who's a really good boxer, fall in, miss shots. I mean, it's almost like someone had given Stanionis the hopeless drug just before he walked into the ring, and given Jaron Boots Ennis superpowers. Go and be a superhero tonight against a guy who we're giving a disease to, who's going to collapse and not be able to see you very well. Go in there and be the invisible man. And it was almost like that. It was like a superpowered athlete against a guy who didn't seem to hurt him or hit him. And after 6 minutes, you just thought, this is just unreal. And that's how it rolled out. And you could see Ennis grow during the performance and really enjoy himself and become an artist in there. And I think this is the fact. His union and synergy with Eddie Hearn has come at the perfect time.
Yeah, absolutely. Gareth, appreciate your time. See you. I'm sure I'll see
See you
you.
Sunday afternoon. See you Sunday afternoon.
Yeah,
Get my Easter eggs ready.
I will. And enjoy your trip to Cardiff.
Cheers, buddy. Muzzle tough.